Most people will be like, I want them to go to hell, or I want them to be jailed, or I want them to die for what they did to me. And here's a survivor who's like, I want to pray for their salvation.
Hey, welcome back to the Men of Iron podcast. At Men of Iron, we exist to change a culture one man at a time, and we believe that's best done through mentorship. We want every man to have a mentor, and it's nothing super crazy. It's just one guy a couple seasons ahead helping another guy a couple seasons behind. If you're interested in being a mentor, or if you're interested in getting a mentor, we can help you with that. There's going to be links in the description. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Steve Thurston with Hope, Inspire, Love, and we're excited to get into a conversation about what Steve's up to and how we can continue to change a culture with what he's doing. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah, man. So let's kick things off. Just tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into what you do and how it affects us today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a storyteller. Yeah. So I grew up telling stories, and I think that's kind of like where my passion for storytelling came from. One of the things that, a while ago, somebody came up to me and said, well, what do you like about storytelling? And I could think about it, and I don't really know what I like about storytelling, but what I do know and understand is that it allows people to remember things and to kind of take ideas and make it more memorable, and so people can connect with them. I went and studied about how to do producing and production and screenwriting and making movies and all that kind of cool stuff. And I never really did anything with it because, it wasn't quite what God wanted me. This is not the path that really God wanted, but it was a good stepping stone to really learn how to communicate and how to share with people and how to really take some of those concepts and make them tangible for individuals to kind of absorb them and really learn from those.
You go to school for mass media, for telecommunications and stuff. You kind of capitalize on this passion for storytelling. How is that playing out in what you do today?
We started in 2017. I am going to a job interview. So I'm going down to Philly and I'm taking the subway. And as I'm kind of riding the subway, I'm standing. All of a sudden, the doors open up from the subway, and this girl walks in. She's probably 14 or 15 years old. She's, she's got very skimpy clothing, no purse, no cell phone. She's kind of looking down at the ground as she kind of walks in. And then she walks in with this big guy who just looks mean and angry. And you could tell that he's not necessarily the father, but he was much older than her and very aggressive with her, to the point where it made me kind of feel like, hey, what's going on here? This is not right. Something bad is happening here. And everybody else in the subway, they're all kind of watching the interaction, what's happening, and they all see the same thing. So the girl's looking down, and I'm like staring at her, and then she kind of looks up, and we kind of lock eyes. And at that point, I could see the pain, and I could see the fear in her eyes, and I could kind of just see her trying to talk through her eyes, kind of like, hey, I need your help, without saying, I need your help. Just the look. Yeah. I can feel the Holy Spirit telling me, hey, something is happening here and you need to take action. Now, as an individual, I have no clue what to do. I don't know what kind of action, and I'm just frozen. I'm just standing there, not really knowing what to do. Yeah. And then at a second point, the guy kind of realizes that we're kind of locking eyes and interacting with it. And I think the guy just got scared that I was going to interfere and do something, because at the next stop, he just grabbed her by the arm, and then they just took off. And I just stood there frozen. And I was like, man, that was a lost opportunity. The Holy Spirit was nudging me. My gut was telling me, hey, something's wrong here. And I was kind of experiencing through my eyes, I was seeing that something was wrong here, but I couldn't quite tell what it was. Just like the blind man, he couldn't quite see the reality of what was happening. And I just went home and I told my wife, Amy, about what had happened, about this experience. And I'm like bawling, trying to tell her what exactly. And I'm like, oh man, I feel like a loser, a bad guy. At that moment, I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, in despair and in the grief of not being able to help somebody in need, especially somebody that was being trafficked. God was really kind of instilling in me, yeah, you got to do something about this. And so my wife and I decided, hey, we're going to start this nonprofit called Hope, Inspire, Love, and we're going to do something about this crime and these atrocities that are happening, not just overseas, but right here in our communities.
Okay, so I'm listening to your story, kind of just processing all of it as you talk. Obviously, like I know that's a thing that's happening. Like human trafficking is obviously a thing. It's obviously like occurring in our communities. I think it seems like there's more conversation about it now than there has been previously.
Yeah.
Somebody's listening and like, whoa, human trafficking, like, is that even a thing? Like, can you shine a light on like how present that is?
We have survivors that we work with who have been trafficked by their family, or their boyfriend. It's kind of like the Romeo boyfriend who will come in and will meet them and will kind of take advantage of the vulnerabilities that they have. And it'll really create a bond with you to the point where you'll do anything for them. And that's when they start asking for sexual favors between them and then with other people. And then they start to charge money and they start to traffic them. So it's happening, and it's rampant here in the US. We even had a survivor who told us that, you know, she went to church one day and she saw her buyer at church. And at that point she was like, I'm never coming to church again, because now you got that religious Christian component of, it's not just somebody out there, it's somebody here in my church who is the buyer, who is fueling the industry to traffic me.
Like, how does this happen?
You know, you had people here in their podcast talk about pornography.
Yeah.
Pornography is a big thing.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of pornography that happens in trafficking. So a lot of times the women are kind of manipulated and coerced to do pornography, but the reality is, you know, they're being trafficked. And so you got men who are not only being exposed to pornography, but they are engaging in that pornography, and they're fueling that sex trafficking industry, but just by consuming that pornography. So not only does the pornography and the addiction and all of the bad things that come with that, psychologically, mentally, physically, spiritually, there's also now that component that most men don't understand, that when you're watching that pornography, you're fueling the sex industry for trafficking. And so it's not like you have this fantasy of the things that you're watching, and the people that are performing are doing these fantasies, and they're just paid to do it. A lot of them are being trafficked, and they're being recorded and forced to do the pornography, and it's fueling that industry. And a lot of perpetrators are, you know, they start with, just like with pornography, they start with something small, and over time it's something bigger and bigger and bigger, and it gets to the point where, okay, the pornography no longer suffices. Now I need to do something physical with somebody. And what are they going to do? They're going to go online and they're going to try to connect with young women, or they'll get into like child pornography, and they'll start to look at that stuff. And then over time, now they're wanting to meet face to face with, you know, they want to have sex with a minor, because again, that pornography that they're watching is fueling, you know, that obsession. And the next thing you know, they're either trafficking somebody or they're the buyer. In other words, they're not trafficking the child or the young adult, but they are buying to have sex and to have, you know, all of this stuff with the minors or even the young adults. And so it's a vicious cycle. And it can happen to anybody. And, you know, we see it in churches too. We see people who they go to church every day, and, you know, after they walk away after church and they're consuming pornography, or they're going out and buying sex from traffickers, you know, who are trafficking these women.
Pornography is presented so often, and I think a lot of people just falsely believe that it's like a no consequence thing. And we've become really flippant about it. We had Kyle Thompson on previously on the podcast, and he was talking about how we just almost overextend grace with guys that are dealing with pornography, to where you get into this language of like, oh, I stumbled again, or oh, I made another mistake. And like, obviously, like we believe in Jesus, we extend grace. But there does come a time where you need to get serious about like, hey, you got to stop. This is evil. This is wicked. This is corrupt. You're not stumbling. You're actually choosing wickedness consistently. And I mean, even just me personally sitting here talking to you right now, it's like, oh, this is horrible. And culture has communicated over and over again that actually it's just a simple consumption kind of thing. Nobody's getting hurt. Nobody's experiencing any kind of consequences. And what you're saying clearly is like, no, there's actually a ton of consequences.
A lot of deep consequences.
And I think a lot of men that get trapped in these cycles, I'm sure you see these men, I'm guessing they didn't set out saying, I think I'd like to get involved in trafficking. They set out on this like small, slow path of simple compromises time and time again, to where, you kind of walked through the pathway earlier. Like you're consuming 1 minute, then you're trying to find somebody online, a real person online that you can connect with. Then you're trying to actually make a real life connection. And you're just going further and further down this dark path that's harming you, that's harming the individuals around you, and is certainly not honoring Christ. So I'm glad, this whole conversation is just kind of heavy, but I'm glad that you guys are highlighting how dark and painful this is, and particularly for our audience. Like, I'm sure there are guys listening that struggle with pornography. You do have to really wrestle with the consequences of your actions, and think through how people are being harmed on the other side, and understand that like Satan is going to tell you, your own mind's going to tell you that this is a no consequence, simple thing. You slipped up once or twice, but real people are getting really hurt on the backside. Okay. So you're talking through guys that kind of perpetuate this stuff. I'm sure also we have a lot of men listening that are deeply offended by all of it and want to stop it. That's one of the things that encourages me. I mean, as you're talking, I was like, man, we know plenty of guys that are going to want to make a difference in this. So how does somebody actually make a difference with this kind of stuff? I know you're mentioning earlier, like it's in our communities, it's happening around us. You might not see it, but it's there. I guess, like, what do we do about it?
Educate yourself. Again, go to our website, and we got things that you can download, these guides, so you can learn more about human trafficking, learn more about what's happening in our community with kids, with young adults, with teenagers, learn more about what these perpetrators are doing, learn more about what schools are not doing to prepare kids for some of these things, or to even, caution so that they're not getting into things that they shouldn't be doing. Like if you're a parent and you're saying, how do I get my kid to stop doing? Well, educate them. We have a curriculum that we have online. We have all these guides that you can download on our website that talk about sextortion. That's a big one now, where kids are being scammed by people who pretend these are pedophiles, or even people in Nigeria or other countries who are pretending to be a 12 or 13-year-old female, and they're connecting with a boy, and they're saying everything that the boy really wants to hear, and then they start to fall in love with each other. And over the course of time, the perpetrator will say, hey, here's an image or a video about themselves, and it's like, you send me one now. And they will send an image or a photo or a video, and they'll say, oh, here's another one, and they'll go back and forth for 4 or 5 times, sending nude images or very risque images. And then that scammer or that perpetrator will say, hey, I want you to do this now. And they'll be like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like, if you don't do it, I'm going to expose you. I'm going to share this video that you sent me, or this photo. I'm going to share it with your parents. I'm going to share it with your friends. I'm going to share it with your school. And of course, these kids have no idea what to do. And a lot of times they do exactly what that perpetrator wants them to do. Send more images, be more explicit, or meet face to face to the point where they will meet and they will be trafficked. So these kids and these young adults are not only being trafficked, but they themselves are being exposed to drugs. They're exposed to pornography to learn what they need to do. And so now their whole world is about, this is what I need to do to survive.
I think it's interesting that you highlight like technology and phones, especially with young people. I know, and I just had a conversation last week with a dad that's like, hey, our kids don't have phones. And it's tough for parents to make those kind of decisions. I understand not everybody makes that choice. But you talked about like the boundaries you can put on phones, the safeguards you can put on. Kids are always smarter than parents when it comes to things on technology. It is very common that as a parent, you think that you have safeguards in place, but your kid already knows the way around them.
Communication is the best thing.
Yeah.
It's communicating to your child or your teenager that, hey, these are things that could happen. These are things that perpetrators are trying to do. And the more knowledge you instill in them, the better they can recognize it. Like if they say, hey, there's these perpetrators, there's pedophiles out there who are asking kids for images. They're asking kids to do this or to do this. And here's how it's happening. They will soak that in. And if they're encountered with something like that, they'll know that, hey, something is wrong here. And they might not want to talk to their parents about it, but they can talk to a trusted adult about it. The more you share with them, the more you communicate, you have that open communication with them, the better they're going to respond to when the situation comes up.
Have a conversation with your kids, teach your kids, be invested. I get it because I'm a busy dad. Like it is easy to throw something at your kid and like they're paying attention to it and they're not bugging you about whatever you got going on, right? So I get it. But you just have to take your leadership in your family seriously and make good choices. Sometimes they're hard choices. Yeah. So you kind of talked a little bit about kids, fathers. Like what else can men do to make a difference with this?
The more men or the more individuals can say, hey, I want to come alongside and help you guys out. What do you need? Some people, it's a financial need. For other people, it's a physical. They can come and help out and do things. For other people, it's prayer. We have like this 31 days of prayer on our website that you can download, and it's prayers that are written by different people about ending human trafficking. Beautiful prayers. One of the prayers in there is a prayer from a victim, a survivor, who was trafficked. She's okay. What do you want to write about? What do you want to pray about? So I want to write a prayer, and I want to pray about the salvation of my trafficker. That hit me. I was like who does that? Who prays for somebody that has done something bad for them and for their salvation? I mean, most people will be like, I want them to go to hell, or I want them to be jailed, or I want them to die for what they did to me. And here's a survivor who's like, I want to pray for their salvation. It's important, the work that we do, the work that our partners do, but we do it for the one, for the one victim, for the one survivor. Just like the girl in the train, in the subway. I don't know who she is. I don't know where she's at. She might still be trafficked, maybe not. But she's out there. And the work that we do it for her. We do it for the one.
Wow. Just listening to you talk, Steve, like at Men of Iron, we exist to change a culture one man at a time. And we believe that when we say that. So we want our communities to look different because the men that we're working with, the men that are working with other men, are actually making a difference. And I know like over this course of the conversation, I'm sure you bump into this all the time. Like I'm frustrated with some of the things that you're sharing and some of the things you're saying. And the thing that's heavy on my heart is like if we are really going to change culture one man at a time, we have to stop this and we have to take it seriously. And so the thing that's on my mind, just speaking directly to you guys in the audience, like if you're complicit, if you're so used to saying, man, I got a porn issue, I keep stumbling, you got to realize that you're actually contributing to the things that Steve is highlighting and the things that Steve is drawing attention to. I recognize that that's like a hard thing to hear, but I want you to hear it because you have to stop the habits that are destroying your life and are destroying our communities. If you're listening to this conversation and you're like, well, that's not me. I'm not struggling with that. I just want to challenge you wherever you are. I know there's guys all over the place. Wherever you are, like, be the change in your community and represent what good men actually look like. I mean, if we're not challenging our audience to show their communities what good men are, like, what are we even doing here? And so if you're hearing us and you're, I would guess, like, you're feeling heavy from this conversation, like I'm feeling heavy from this conversation, figure out how to actually step up, make a difference. I know you're talking about communication, education, teach your kids. We have to change this, and we have to address this. And so, like with what Men of Iron offers, if you need a mentor and if you're dealing with some of these things and you need some accountability and you need somebody to hold you to a higher standard, reach out to us. We can help you do that. But even beyond that, we want you to take your faith seriously. We want to take your relationship with Jesus seriously. And we want you to hear clearly from us that God has put you in this place and this time on purpose for a purpose. And that is to actually address these kinds of things and make a difference in these kind of things. And Steve's saying, you're not going to jump on the subway and start fighting dudes on the subway car. But we can take a stand against some of these things. We can watch out for them in our own homes, in our own families, in our own communities. And I think too, we can step in and we can actually be a support. So I really appreciate your time with us, Steve, and the things you're representing. I really appreciate the things you're fighting for. It's been a heavy conversation, dude. I feel it in me. And I'm sure you have conversations like that a lot. But I hope we can be helpful in making a difference.
Yeah. As men, we have to realize that we got to remove those blinders.
Yes.
We got to remove, because there's blind spots on how we should act, as how our leadership should be, not just with our families, in our community, and even just with who knows what kind of interactions we're having with other individuals in our community, is removing those blinders. And we can't really remove those. God has through that process has to remove those for us. So we have to seek it. We can't just be complacent and be laid back and say, you know what, I want to learn, or I want to take it. It's like, no, there's more than just saying I want to learn or I want to take a next step. It's like you really have to connect with God, because God is going to open those doors for you. And God is really going to transform your thought process, and your spirituality and your faith is going to multiply when you go through that process.
We're here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. You're in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. If there are people listening locally that want to get involved or support what you do, how do they do that?
Yeah, you can go to our website. It's hopeinspirelove.org. We have a contact tab there as well, but we also have one called Get Involved. And we have a whole bunch of opportunities for you to be able to get involved. We have events that we do locally. We have a Freedom Walk. Again, I mentioned that. You can sign up and participate in that. That's in October, early October. We have a gala in April as well. These are opportunities that families can come and participate. So it's not just you as an individual, but your family can come. The month of January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And we have a whole bunch of activities that are happening. You can go to our social media and not just follow us, but we're educating through social media posts throughout the month of January, how to spot the signs of human trafficking, and how to learn about myths and misconceptions, how to learn more about what's happening here locally, what's happening nationally, and different ways of getting involved, not just with us, but with other partner organizations that we work with. And there's a lot of ways that men can get involved, and just reach out to us and we'll plug you in. So even if you can't find an opportunity, just put your hand up and say, hey, I want to get involved, and we'll plug you in.
We've got to get involved in it. We've got to make a difference. It starts with our own personal discipleship. What's your relationship with God like? Truly, I feel so strongly all of us are here at this place and at this time for a reason. God's placed us here. We need to take our mission seriously, engage with it, and actually start to change culture, and not wait for somebody else to do it for us.
Yeah.
And just like you had that weird interaction on the train or the subway or whatever with that girl. You saw it. You're like, I think I need to do something about this. I think there's many, many, many more men out there that need to do exactly the same thing. Maybe not necessarily in this specific situation, but any number of situations in your life, you can't assume somebody else is going to take care of it. So thanks so much, Steve. I really appreciate the conversation, and appreciate what your organization does. And just want to encourage you in that.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Men of Iron podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. At Men of Iron, we exist to change a culture one man at a time, and we'd love to have you partner with us. So go to menofiron.org to see how you can get involved, or donate at menofiron.org/donate.